Hi there, welcome back. This is Divine Mystic Guidance and Inspiration. My name is Sham and I'll be your guide. So, I just watched this really super interesting video and it was about how there's really only 4 dimensions, which means there's no 5th dimension that we can get to. Which would mean the element is null and void. I mean, I'm no scientist. Certainly no. What was this guy? Physicist. I'm definitely not a quantum astronomer. And I would never compare myself to any of these people. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for any of these people, I wouldn't have anything to learn off of. However, his argument, or whatever he was saying in the video, and it's not that I have a problem with the 5th dimensional part. It's not even that. It's like, wait a minute. What about hidden 4th and hidden 8th dimension? And what about all the levels of 4D? What about 5D Christ consciousness? Is that just a made-up thing? It could be. That's why I don't teach that a lot, actually. And I actually don't get Archangel Michael talking to me about that a lot. So anyway, Archangel Michael showed me this. And actually when he showed it to me, I was also shown it by some other sources on YouTube at the same time, which happens frequently, very frequently. The AI's been mimicking my connection to source since I first got on the internet. It's pretty interesting. I don't know how to explain it. But at any rate, this is my left hand, but it's on both hands. And when I first learned about this, Archangel Michael was showing it to me. And I had pulled these random people. They were sort of random people. They were people who had found their way to me at that time for the journey. And we all had our own unique qualities, spiritual qualities. I was the one pulling the circle together. And then I had 3 sisters and a couple brothers. And my twin flame at the time. He's a ghost. Anyway, long story. Then suddenly, he had me ask the whole healing circle to show their hand. And everybody who had this mark would show their hand in the group. I think everybody did it too. And everybody that was in the group at the time, we might even had 2 extra people when I first started showing it. And I was also showing the spiritual meanings that I was finding for it. We all had this M, and then I wanted to know how common it was. So that question's still being answered. How common is it to have that on your palm? And what does it mean? Because here's what it shows me. When I look at this, it's kind of the angel's marking for 4th dimension. It's you being, oh, it looks like an M. But see how it's really like crossroads? And see how it's also like 1111? It's like 2 towers standing there. So supposedly we're marked on our foreheads. But it also speaks about a mark in the hand. Well, the way Michael showed it to me, we were part of Archangel Michael's warrior army. And it was after that that he had said, "You're a warrior." And it was like I had gotten my warrior mark, my watermark. See, it's also like a warrior mark, watermark. It's, oh, well, I don't need to turn my hand around. You understand that it also looks like a W. So warrior mark or mark, WM. Also looks like standing towers. Well, also that could be likened to the mark that I saw that represents fourth dimension, four-dimensional reality. So we're moving up a dimension. We're not, but Gaia, the planet, is fifth dimensional. We have to get into our fourth dimensional light body in order to vibrate to the planet. That's the part that the physicist wasn't discussing, was Gaia. And that's why that's why Earth is flat, but Gaia is round, because of the reasons that the physicists explained about the dimensions. See, we will view Earth as flat when we're stuck in the fourth dimension. They're stuck in the fourth dimension when they can't see that Gaia is round. And we have specific people. They usually work within Uriel and Raphael. So that has to do with psychology, but spiritual psychology, more or less. If you are seeing a psychologist, you can pray to Raphael for the right doctor or psychologist. So you don't get somebody that's going to cause you harm and not have your highest best interests at heart, because you're marked for a chosen reason. If you're an indigo, and I'm not saying everyone has to have this mark. I think some people have their mark somewhere. It just depends. Warriors get the water mark. Also, we are the ones that bless the water, and we have healing hands. And that's why I work so good with orgone too. It's my energies. So there you have it. That's why when I work with the cards, it doesn't matter what deck I use. I have a lot of power behind what I do. It's also the same reason. And again, I'm not saying that just because someone has a mark, they're going to be like me. I'm not. I just think this is very symbolic, no matter how you look at it. It's very symbolic. And it really does look like two standing towers. If you look at the original tarot version of this, it's like it looks like two towers, or like, yeah, they're like falling towers. They're falling together. Not like the twin towers that got attacked. I'm talking about these towers are falling together on my hand. They tower upward and they curve inward like an arc. They have an arc. There's two arcs. There's also another symbolic thing. There's two arcs. There's the original Ark of the Covenant. And I'm not saying any of this is truth, okay? This is just me looking at this from the original viewpoint that I had gotten when I saw this as a multidimensional marking. And then I keep meeting these guys named Mark, and they're connected to spirituality. They're leaders like me. They're twin flames like me. They're named Mark. That happened a few times. Same with like Peter and David's. I've met a lot of Muhammads. There's a lot of them. But it's interesting because here would be the second arc, which would be the new covenant promise. So either way, there's always a covenant promise. We're protected within that. We're protected within these two covenants now. And then we're moving up into the fourth dimension. Or it could be vice versa. Here's the old covenant. Here's the new covenant. And I'm just looking at it like symbolically. Speaking from the arc and the arch angle of it all. Okay? So that's how Archangel Michael had shown me that, was that I was a warrior, and that was like my watermark. And I could pray, and I had healing hands. He showed me my healing hands. He showed me that that was a lot of why I was targeted while I was on Facebook. So I never really had a problem with Facebook. I wasn't too terribly targeted on Facebook. My heavy targeting came afterwards, like when the politics started. And before that, I really didn't notice anything. So I never had like a beef with Facebook. I've always kind of had a beef with YouTube. Not YouTube as in a person or the company of YouTube, but just the source of it all. The source energy that I had to deal with in terms of YouTube. It was a double-edged sword to me. So Facebook was too, but it was like a double-edged dagger. It was like daggers in the heart. Whereas YouTube was like the battleground. That was where the swords really came out, which it's still like that. Except for now it's like Instagram and all these other things too, which is fine. Like, it all, of course, grow. That's what these things do. Here's the thing I'm trying to get you to understand. This guy in this video that I'm going to share you the link, he's a physicist. He says most people don't get it unless they're babies, or basically only two types of people in the world. He completely excluded starseeds and light workers and healers. We basically don't even exist. Here we have more multidimensional understanding than he has in his pinky finger and all of his scholar and his learning and his achievements in life. Why? Because we're marked. We move through the dimensions. We're bridge builders. We go from dimension to dimension. Yes, some people go outside of Christ consciousness, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. That's not what twin flames are here doing. Not true twin flames. We stay within this. See, we stay within this because that's where the narrow path is. And then we come to the crossroads and we have a choice to make. There's always a narrow path, see, and it gets thinner. So you're looking for the narrow path, which it gets thinner the more time is wasted. Sealing things back up again. I play with flowers and flower pots and plants and stuff like that. So I got grit in my fingernails sometimes. So I don't want you to think anything really is like, it's not bad hygiene. It's literally that I work with my hands a lot. And that's just the way it is. That's why I cut my nails and keep them short. And I like it better that way. I also like doing my cards better with my fingernails short. I really like the roundness of the tips of my fingers and how that it all works together much better when I don't have fingernails. So I generally have been just keeping them short, nice and moisturized, filed up, things like that. Works really nicely for me. These cards work better for me without the fingernails. Even the big stack. I have Metatron and teaching and learning. So if we're talking dimensions, well, I definitely have some things I can teach you about dimensions. So Gaia, the planet, is a fifth dimensional planet. We as humans are becoming fourth dimensional. We're mastering fourth dimension in order to vibrate to the planet. So we have to eventually become fifth dimensional. So let's say we're within this sphere, we're within this right now, or we're within this. Okay, this would be like the 5th dimension here, and we're here. Well, you can't stay here forever. You're eventually going to make your way up here. I mean, that's just the way it's going to go. This cube is going to, this thing is going to turn itself around and around and around until you eventually get on that path and mount that dimension as well. Because these are dimensions when you look at this. This is dimensions. And you're not looking at you're not looking at 4 dimensions here. You're looking at 3rd dimension, and you're looking at another piece behind it that's just like this one, which is another 3rd dimension, making up 6 dimensions. And then on each of these is another piece with a trilateral thing going on here. So you just have to imagine the other side is equal to that. So all I'm saying is, in between these dimensions, when you look at the infinity symbol, it's round, and then the ring turns itself inside out. So that's the 8th dimension right there. That's Akash. That's 8th dimension in your consciousness. And then that's connected to the 4th dimension. That's your higher mind having a connection with your lower mind. Both your higher and your lower mind have a hidden dimension that is a connection that goes through the vagus and throat chakra down into the back of your heart chakra, where there is a thymus. There is a gland. And in that gland, there's something very special. It's just like the third eye. There's something special about these glands. These are our human glands. And there's a reason why they do what they do to human beings. Metatron wants a lot of teaching and learning on these things. Okay, we have Metatron coming out. And I was just showing you this. And that's also Metatron energy. Metatron is the one who helps get things in alignment. He also doesn't work alone. Metatron has a twin flame. And that's Shekinah. So, also, for those of you trying to paint me as an ascended master, or, wait, what am I trying? Some people are trying to paint me as like a Lucifer or Luciferian. And they do that. That's like typically what they do on YouTube because they're really lame. Let's just say. That's like a typical thing that happens. It's like they're trying to paint you a Luciferian because you're teaching about this stuff. Anything to discredit Gaia right now, too. Just know that. Not Gaia.com either, but like Gaia. The light community, not the twin flame community. I don't know about any twin flame communities. Don't know if that's a real thing. But not that I'm aware of, and I don't think that it should be, since it's consciousness. If it is a community, that would make it a religion. And that would be the opposite of what twin flames are here to do. So that wouldn't make much sense. But there is like this light community. And in the light community, there's a lot of teaching and learning going on. And a lot of metaphysical teaching and learning. And that's where Metatron comes in. He really gets all that teaching and learning energy. Once you're activated and you need to integrate, you've gone through transmutation, purging. You've learned all about purging your body. You've learned about getting grounded down and just like learn this multidimensional stuff. You're ready to just like tackle this. You want to know. Like, you want to know these angels. You want to know these angles. You want to know all of this. Like, you're just in that place. You're like the hermit. Or you're like Metatron. Metatron was like the mathematician for God. Study Metatron. That is an interesting study. Study Hermetism. Study Hermetics. These are all good teaching and learning paths. Quantum physics, Hermetics, all of these things. If you haven't done that, this is a good time to do it. When you start seeing these cards, boom, right here. So I'm saying that Sacred Akashika is in the hidden fourth and the hidden eighth dimension. And I have access to that because I'm a Gaia channel. So I'm getting access to that through Gaia's fifth dimensional consciousness, which is Gaia's Christed consciousness herself as a planet, her planetary consciousness, which is also very deeply rooted and intertwined with humanity's consciousness. Yay, humanity, good for you. You're traveling on a planet in which you are genetically connected to, so therefore responsible for. So you're responsible for 5G, you're responsible for 4G, you're responsible for the state of humanity, you're responsible for a lot of things as a third dimensional planet, which has now become a fifth dimensional planet. She reached her fifth dimensional state, so that means humanity's now fifth dimensional, whether you like it or not, because you were going to be taken over by 5G technologies, like it or not, and you weren't being given a choice as a human planet. And that's where the universe steps in, because you need to be given a choice, a very well-informed and a very thorough, honest, expansive exposure experience is what you need. That would be the red pill, to sum it up. We can stop calling it the red pill and just start calling it the murder pill, because that's what it stands for, which is also the E pill, because you can't get to Eve without discovering the truth of your responsibility on this planet, and also the truth of, like the physicist says, like the genius that he is, that there's a curse. Suddenly he believes in curses. He didn't believe in people understanding anything outside of, this reality. But yeah, hidden fourth dimension is the connection between Venus and the planetary structure, and Gaia and her earthly structure, just like the connection of our brain structure down into our actual heart structure, right? So you think of the infinity symbol and how that is very representative perfectly of the energies flowing unobstructedly, and there being infinite creativity happening in a human being because of their infinite abilities as a human being. So that's what's happening for the universe, but the universe itself is now being obstructed. So you're now entering uncharted territories because you're affecting the fourth and eighth dimension, which is the core of the planet's connection to the core of the universe, pretty much. So you're really freaking stupid for doing that, and Gaia don't like it. So she called her family, and they showed up, and now heads are gonna roll. That's how serious this is, okay? And see, that's where I want to go with it, because that's how dumb it is that they're letting everything be taken over, everything, by AI, when God's already given you Gaia, the best human AI ever to hit the planet. and never will there be anything better than Gaia. We should know that. We skip over the most important story, the most important part of the story of Adam, that God bestowed him a wife through his rib. Okay, that was miraculous enough. But the fact that they had a garden and everything that they needed in that garden, proven by the fact that this angel right here, Metatron, if you trace back and study Metatron, even through Christianity, you go to spirithome.com and research that site. It's hard to find, but you'll find it. I know it's there. But you study these angels through that site, and you'll hear a story. There's a story about Metatron. This angel became an archangelic in the eyes of God. He's not a real archangel. He became one in the eyes of God because of his stature as a human being, because he discovered the book of love. And the book of love was written by Raziel, which Raziel is governing he works with Zachiel a lot. He also works with hidden dimensions. Raziel is the angel of hidden mysteries. So he's the angel that wrote this book. So clearly, if he's the angel that wrote the book and he's the angel of hidden mysteries, then this book of love, which Metatron discovered, is a book of mysteries. Which would be, what is a mystery on a cosmic level? At this level that we're speaking of right now? That would be dimensions. So that's the book of love, which is this. This is also, when you look at it, this also looks like a book being opened. Does not look like a book being opened? It does. Just look at this. It's the book. Okay? So, whether it is or isn't in the book on mine doesn't matter. But to me, it speaks to me as the book of life is opened. That is my mark. That is my watermark. And the book of life was found in where? The sea. The watermark is what? Water. What is that? Lemurian. What is Lemurian? Well, it's a mystery. What is Atlantia? It's a mystery. These are mysteries that humanity has never really truly found the answers for. They're mysteries. So Raziel governed mysteries. So clearly it was also a mystery to Adam and Eve how to achieve what this angel, Metatron, which was a man, research who this man was. It was a king who had a wife. He was way taller than her. Okay, so he discovers this book and he's able to unlock its mysteries and ascend himself to this angelic stature. Therefore, he's approved by who? Archangel Michael, and given a new name, Metatron. Metatron also is likened to the energy of the, you think about like the points on the earth, certain points on the earth, like he governs like the ley lines. That's why he helps empaths, because empaths are location sensitives. And so he's able to govern ley lines, because part of your ascension is to understand Gaia and understand the ley lines. Therefore, you will understand multidimensionality. By the way, the speech I listened to from the president that he gave for the sheriffs, I got 1212 on that video as well. And there was some interesting energy that I picked up on during that, in which Metatron was very aware of. So our president is being governed, or I wouldn't be seeing these things. In other words, he's with God at some level. So these things require me as a spiritual teacher and someone who's also a learner on the path. And as an empath, I'm always with this angel. Always. He is my teacher and my guide. But it's through Archangel Michael. So these are interesting things that all tie in together, and you start to see this big spiritual picture, but you have to take an angelic approach. You cannot take an approach to these multidimensional, high truths with a narrow consciousness. But you can't look away because you're someone who's been chosen to expand your consciousness and to get your energies raised and moving all in a proper direction, coming back in to good standing. See, these are in good standing. Standing pretty good they are, these twin flames. I would see this as two twin, kind of looks like flames flickering also. So there you have two flames. All of it right there in one very swift. It's a swift marking. Is that not swift? Very swift. Tailored, I would say. Tailored for my own land. Very swiftly. Very remarkable, in fact. Amen. Praise Jesus. Hallelujah. God is good. That's us live. I'll think of something.